Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome on this beautiful day in the neighborhood to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent. My name is Christina Church, and it's my pleasure and my privilege to serve you as your minister. And whether you've been coming here for decades or whether, like me and my family, you're pretty new around here, and you're just getting to know the place like I am, we're so glad that you're here with us today. And we're especially glad that folks on Zoom can join us virtually too and be part of our circle of community today. And I'm so new, I didn't know last time where the right camera was to wave to. But this week I know, and it's that one over there on the side. Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're here with us. Thanks for being here.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this Beautywood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor.
The Reverend Gretchen Haley says, in a world that feeds on moral outrage, we are here to cultivate moral courage. In a time that prizes picking sides, we gather to draw a wider circle. And in a culture that teaches us to get for what we give and to ask, what's in it for me? We come to practice generosity and to remember we are all in this together. In the midst of life's bitterness, we choose to sing, to give thanks, to laugh together, and to be keepers of beauty. To offer a place of belonging for all who come in gladness and in pain, to resist the push to the next moment and the next, to slow down, to breathe more deeply, to feel a part of something greater for this hour and in this space. Let us be the change we wish to see. For today's service, we invite you to consider how we, as a faith community, can draw the circle wide. How can we recognize our interdependence and fulfill our promises to one another of how we want to be in community together? How can we build bridges to one another despite any differences? How can we center love in all we do so that love inspires the way we build community together? Come, Let us worship together.
This morning, we will light our chalice using the words of the UU Church of Kent mission. So I invite Claudia to come and help us light it. We will light this chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as we hold in our hearts the mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent, to inspire love, to seek justice, and to grow in community. And now let's sing together our opening hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Singing the added low part 2 times together first, and then we will all sing Come, Come together before breaking into a round led by myself and Vanessa. So here's the low part. And when we sing our round, low voices, feel free to stay on the though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, come wherever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, wherever you are. Wanderer, come, whoever you're leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no last time of despair. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come.
Our story this morning is called Circles All Around Us by Brad Montague, illustrated by Brad and Christy Montague. Begin by drawing a circle on the ground along each shoe. A safe little place for just one person. Nobody in the circle but you. You could keep that circle closed to nobody but yourself, but that would be like a library with just one book on the shelf. So let's draw the circle bigger for you and your family to share. Now you see what all can happen in a circle filled with care. It becomes a happier circle as more loved ones come to stay. And wouldn't it be even better if all your friends could come and play? So you stretch and draw your circle even bigger than it's been, and let a few more people know they're welcome to come in. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we all go, there's a difference we can make, a love that we can show. Yet, there are still so many outside of the circle who are different in all they do. Though it feels slightly uncomfortable, we draw that circle bigger for them too. It doesn't mean the circle is easy. It can get harder the more that we share. But wonderful things can happen when love is known and felt everywhere. As time passes, our eyes open, we see others who really care. And that's when we ask ourselves, well, what's this circle really for? So let us create bigger circles all around us for the rest of our days. Let our caring ripple out in a million little ways. And in the circles around us, everywhere that we all go, there's a difference that we can make and a love that we can show. As our circles grow and grow, we watch them wonder-eyed. But remember, the first circle started with just the love that you have inside.
As one of our expressions of those circles of care, this is a community that holds each other in compassion and connection. So let's take a moment to breathe into the silence together this morning, holding space for all that we are carrying in our hearts. And now, if there is a name on your heart from your wider circle, someone who is especially on your mind this morning, I invite you to speak that name into this space of care and compassion. May they all be well. May they all be comforted. Among some of the sorrows shared with the congregation today, Marion shares that the RHS librarian is the target of Twitter attacks for the banned book display. So we hold the values of freedom of expression and freedom to read in our hearts today, and we hope that she will not be needlessly attacked for her good work in the community. Now please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, we hold in our hearts today all those around the world who are suffering, all those who are ill, those who are lonely, and those who are afraid, those who lack the basic needs to maintain life and health, and all living in active conflicts. Today we are especially thinking, as we said earlier, of the people of this nation who suffer in the path of Hurricane Helene. May they be given the support they need to grieve losses, heal broken bodies, and rebuild communities. May hope prevail. Amen. And finally, it is a practice to turn to the happy news of those in our gathering today who are celebrating some joyous turn of events. And so among the joys that I would like to share today that were brought forth in the earlier service this morning, Kaya shares that she was able to go to South Carolina to enjoy her great niece's first birthday, and that they are doing just fine, even with the storm. So we're glad to hear that. And Anna shares that her good friends Corey and Jess are welcoming their first and long-awaited child this very day, so we celebrate with them as well. Thank you for sharing your hearts with us each Sunday. As always, we are here to bear witness. We're here to care for each other and to accompany each other through all of life's journeys. May we always do so.
Our first reading this morning is from the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, and she is our recent past president. She served a 6-year term recently, president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. She writes, "When my son was just 2 years old, I found him bringing all his stuffed animals into the shower. When I asked what he was up to, he answered, 'It's shower church.' I smiled and asked, 'Oh yeah, what's happening at shower church?' He told me he would be preaching. When I asked what he was preaching about, he answered simply, 'Love, Mommy. It's always love.' There is an old saying that even the best preachers only have 1 or 2 sermons. We just keep finding new ways to share them. In that moment, I thought my son had clearly figured me out. Love is a core foundation of my religious understanding, but it is not a love that is simply an emotion, a feeling, or an expression of the bonds of loyalty felt within a group. In personal relationships, when we love someone, we wish for them the fullest unfolding and development of who they are. We wish for them freedom, safety, joy, and life. Love, as a religious practice, extends our compassion, solidarity, and care beyond the personal to seeking the liberation and wholeness of every person. It reminds us of our fundamental interdependence with all of life. It is this understanding of love that formed one of the most precious gifts Unitarian Universalism has given me. The gift of a religion that teaches that the work of justice is inseparable from a faith rooted in love. This understanding that love and justice are inseparable was nurtured by my UU atheist and activist mom, who told me as a young child she did not believe in God, but if she did, she would believe God is love. It was reinforced by the stories and theology of Unitarian Universalism that no one is outside the circle of love. Each Sunday, reciting the covenant beginning with the words, "Love is the doctrine of this congregation," I was and am reminded that love is the core teaching and practice of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist.
Today is a day for celebrating all the circles that we belong to, all the circles that give our lives meaning. Our circles of family and of friendship, of faith and of community. And that is why we began with that avatar of community, Fred Rogers. With the beautiful song with which he opened his television show for children, letting them know that they were a part of a wider neighborhood, filled with people whose interdependent relationships made the network of community strong. Mr. Rogers recognized and lifted up the ways that we're stronger and healthier, happier and better, embedded in the fabric of our community. In many ways, he swam against the tide of his times and the dominant themes of U.S. culture. And many decades now on from the heyday of Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood, we might look around and realize what a prophetic message he had for us. The epidemics of loneliness and isolation that we're currently experiencing in our country show us in stark relief how vital these relationships are, how important these extended networks are in finding meaning and purpose, helping us experience connection and belonging, and simply bringing joy to our daily lives. And they don't have to be faith communities, of course, but as Reverend Rogers, an ordained Presbyterian minister, surely knew from his own experiences, and as research continues to bear out, people who are connected to religious or spiritual communities tend to be less lonely, more resilient, and feel more connected. Now, we Unitarian Universalists have not always been the best about sharing the great things about our faith with others who might be interested in joining us. Perhaps it's because we don't want to make anyone feel obligated, and sometimes we're a little shy about proclaiming the good news of Unitarian Universalism. But this month, as we consider the ministry theme of invitation, it just seemed like too good of an idea to have an invite a friend to church day. And so today I want to share a little bit about Unitarian Universalism and why it's so connected to these themes of circles and community. And it may be review for you if you've been coming here for a long time, but we can always use a little review. And because we all learn best from stories, Kathy will be sharing the story part of the service, like the story that she just shared from Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, to put these principles in action and help us understand how they work in real life. So now, first, Unitarian Universalism, you may know, grew out of two progressive Christian denominations. But as it grew and developed, our faith continued to become more and more accepting and open. And so like the story that Colleen shared with us today, the circle became wider and wider. Universalists began with the heretical and shocking idea that a loving God would never send anyone to hell, and that therefore everyone was saved. And our work here on earth for the Universalists was to embody that same all-embracing love and proclaim that good news. Unitarians, on our other side, began in the notion of covenant, a Latin word that simply means to go together, and described in their early writings on this continent their desire to journey together in the ways of love and care. And so when we say that our faith is relational and covenantal, we come by it naturally on both sides of our heritage. Yet we have drawn the circle wider and wider again, eventually growing beyond the confines of a single religious outlook and welcoming all who share our values and a desire to be guided both by love and by a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. So at this point in our development, we can say that rather than any creed or any shared beliefs about who made the universe or what happens when you die, the glue that really holds Unitarian Universalists together is our commitment to these covenantal relationships, to how we are going to be together and care for each other and learn to be good friends and neighbors and congregants in each other's lives. These are promises that we make to each other about how we will support each other's journeys and how we will try to make a better world. We're still growing and changing too, continually drawing the circle wider, because you see, Unitarian Universalists know that we adhere to what we call a living tradition. This means that we're open to receiving new wisdom and new insights as we travel this path together. And so, just last year, we worked very hard, actually for the past 3 years, on a new statement of our values and how we want to be together in the world. The ways that we as a denomination hold, the things that we hold most dear. These were approved last year by a majority of delegates from all congregations in a democratically inclusive process. And I'm not going to talk about them all because there's a lot to learn. But I do want to bring out a few. The first one is interdependence, right? That's what we've really been talking about today. We've been talking about the ways that all of our lives impact all of our lives, the ways that our circles are built in these networks of love and care. Now, when we think about interdependence, sometimes we think about the interdependent web of life, right? We think about the planet, we think about ecology, we think about nature and all the plants and animals that we share relationships with, and those are very important. And interdependence is also about the ways that the fabric of our lives connect with one another, with people near and far, and the ways that we live so that we can care for each other. And it's our spiritual work as Unitarian Universalists to learn to do that. Counterculturally, right? In counterpoint to the Marlboro man who goes it alone, we're looking at the Fred Rogers model of connection and community. Interdependence is celebrated in Unitarian Universalism because we know we need each other. Part of our new value statement says that we will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, of mutuality and justice. and that will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. This refers not just to those wider circles of planetary independence, but to human networks, neighborhoods, communities, societies, congregations. It's our work to create and nurture sustainable, loving, caring connections, networks, neighborhoods, communities, here in Kent and in the wider world too. And now I want to invite us to take a little break and sing together our reflection hymn today, which is number 1023, Building Bridges. The words will be on your screen.
Your round singing was so beautiful the last time, so let's do it again. Let's sing Building Bridges all together, and then we'll break into two parts and sing it one more time as a round. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can part one over here with me. Sweet harmony, building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to bridges, you reach out to me. I reach out of our voices, you and all of our visions. With friends we will make such sweet harmonies. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Beautiful.
So, okay, we recognize that we're all interdependent, right? And yet it isn't all sunshine and roses, is it? No, because we are also all different, right? We need each other. Our lives depend on each other. But so often, we don't understand each other. One of the greatest challenges of being human in this world. Each person has different experiences, different perspectives, and so we don't all see things in the same exact way. And I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that we Unitarian Universalists have it all figured out, because we don't. We struggle to understand each other. We get into conflicts. We sometimes make a mess of things, just like everybody else. But I do think that at our best, we do have something very special at the heart of our faith. The fact that it's built on these relationships. The fact that you don't have to leave any part of yourself behind when you become a Unitarian Universalist. The fact that we expect that kind of theological diversity and a variety of ways of experiencing reality, experiencing the divine. So we may not always do it perfectly or even well, but in some way, we have enshrined religious pluralism as part of who we are. And perhaps that can lead to us building other kinds of bridges. Cultural bridges, racial bridges, gender identity bridges, generational bridges, social and political bridges. Maybe, if we take seriously our value of pluralism. Our new statement regarding the value of pluralism says in part, we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. So we celebrate those differences. And we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. because of this diversity, because you use differences in theology and religious affiliation and spiritual practices are somewhat baked in to our movement at this point. Building bridges is one of the great hallmarks of the spiritual work that you use, are called to do in this world. And as I said, we don't do it perfectly. It isn't easy. We stumble. We get upset with each other and with other communities because this bridge building requires something of us. And that something is what Susan Frederick Gray talked about. That something is putting love at the center. So when we build bridges with love in our hearts, we make a space for wonderful things to happen.
Our second reading today is from the Reverend Joanne Fontaine Crawford. And she begins with this quote from Connie Goodbread. Faith development is all we do. Unitarian Universalism is the faith we teach. The congregation is the curriculum. Reverend Crawford continues, there was a single mother in our congregation who had 2 young children, a daughter and a son. Seeing the painted fingernails of his mom and sister, the little boy wanted to join in the fun. Oh, how he loved having painted fingernails. He waved his hands around, giggling with happiness. He loved experimenting with different colors. His delight was cut short when he began being bullied at school. His mother shared what was happening with friends at church. Somehow the word got out to the men in the church. The following Sunday, men of all ages showed up at our church with painted fingernails. Teenagers, business types, old men. Some even brought bottles of polish so the men who hadn't heard the news could paint their fingernails too. The little boy's face when he saw that, his mouth was an O of wonder, his eyes were lit up with joy. Mine were too. It was one of the most loving things I'd ever seen. I have no idea what I preached on that day. It didn't matter because the most powerful sermon was happening that day out in the fellowship hall with Sally Hansen, mauve over polish. That night he asked his mother about all those boys with painted nails. They're Unitarian Universalists, she told him. Are we Unitarian Universalists, he asked. Well, I am, she said. He thought about it for several minutes. I'm one too, he decided. In many of our congregations, we carefully craft curricula to teach the values of our faith. But sometimes the lessons simply appear. That Sunday, all ages learned about nurturance masculinity, the alternative and antidote to toxic masculinity. We learned a new way of being an intentional, intergenerational village, raising a child. And it all flowed from compassion, wanting to give a little boy the message that his authentic self is beautiful and worthy of being imitated, even by people much older than he. We are the hands and feet of love, and sometimes it's fingernails too.
So how do we build these bridges? we may be guided by this central inspiration of love. Love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth, as Unitarian Universalist theologian and writer Bell Hooks put it. Love is as love does, she said. Love is an act of will. Namely, it's both an intention and an action. So when we speak of this love that painted fingernails to show solidarity with a little boy, we're not talking about some namby-pamby emotion, a fluttering of the heart when your favorite person walks by, not an emotion that we show selectively towards those whom we deem most worthy. No. Putting love at the center, as we're called to do, means an active orientation, not waiting for feelings of love to arise or to be drawn towards a particular person or group, or loving someone because they're just like us. No. Putting love at the center of our lives means having that intention and practice towards love in our hearts always, precisely because we believe that every person who has ever been born has inherent worthiness and dignity and is whole and wholly deserving of love. Now, that doesn't mean that we accept all behaviors and all attitudes, for we're called to speak up and act when someone's actions are causing someone else harm. But again, we do it with love, loving the stranger, by loving someone who's different in ways that we maybe simply don't understand yet. The revolutionary love creator and activist Valerie Kaur encourages us to think of every stranger, every person who's different from ourselves, everyone we meet, as a part of ourselves that we simply haven't met yet. Loving the person who's difficult to love and still wanting the best for them, even if they get on our nerves or push our buttons or express values that are very different than ours. Loving also and having compassion for ourselves, for we are part of that circle as well. Living with loving intention toward every single person we encounter around us every single day. And if this sounds easy, my friends, you are sorely mistaken. But the story Kathy read shows us how a community can bring about love in ways that are beyond words, how community can make love an expression of its very being by offering solidarity, acceptance, and belonging, and how it can also be beautiful and joyful and fun. I could talk all day about Unitarian Universalism and love at the center, but I think the stories you would go away with are the ones that Kathy read, right? Those are the ones that really resonate and illustrate what it is that I'm trying to say. So as we come to the end of this part of our service, I just invite you to ask more questions and to do more exploring about what Unitarian Universalism is all about. I especially invite you today to talk to someone that you don't know well, because they may be a part of you that you just haven't met yet. On this Friendship Sunday, I want to celebrate the ways that friendship brings delight and comfort to our lives by sharing a little song that I've treasured for a long time, and maybe you know it too. It's another example of a sweet old song that has great meaning, for me anyway. It goes like this. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other gold. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other gold. So, you know it too. May we, each of us, continue to treasure old friends, and may each of us reach out to widen our circles, to make new connections throughout our lives. And may we treasure both the silver and the gold. May we be good neighbors in this Beautywood that we live in, and may we reach out for each other, build bridges, and grow widening circles of love, care, and connection everywhere we go and throughout all the seasons of our lives.
One way we show our commitment to each other and to our church community is through our financial offerings to the church. They reflect our love for this church, they reflect our gratitude for this spiritual community, and they reflect our acknowledgement that we are an interdependent community who take care of our church and one another as best we are able. We have two kinds of special collections going on today. One is our social justice collection for this month, which benefits the Kent League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging the informed and active participation of citizens in government through education and advocacy. We are also doing a special offering today. This is an emergency appeal for the Unitarian Universalist Association Disaster Relief Fund. This is to benefit survivors and congregations that were affected by this week's hurricane. So we invite you also to consider giving to this as well. And we gratefully accept the offering that sustains this church and these other organizations.
There are bridges, bridges in the sky. They are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire. They can change two things to one. They are languages and letters. They are poetry and awe. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a wall. They are languages and letters. They are poetry and awe. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a wall. There are canyons, there are canyons. They are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, and they're all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion. They are apathy and pride. There are dark and so foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion. They are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music. Let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon. Let us right another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, oh, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on their way.
As we get ready to end our service with thanks to all the wonderful service leaders, musicians, people who helped us put it together, I invite you to say the words of our chalice extinguishing with me as we put out the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. We carry these in our hearts until we are together again. And now, love will guide us. This is a rousing one. I hope we can do a rousing version of Love Will Guide Us. The Spirit.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Friends, we end our gathering with gratitude for camaraderie, for shared wisdom, for goodwill, and the support that we extend to each other within this community. May we continue to bless each other with these gifts, and may we reflect these blessings back out into the world as we minister to those around us. May it be so. Amen.